All right, we'll be starting in just a minute. Okay. Right. All right, sir. Let's move this there. Oakley dokley. Welcome to the mid-season finale edition of the show, aptly named because we got 3 mid-season finales to talk about tonight. Possibly 4. I don't know if Constantine is new tomorrow or if this was it until January. But we got S.H.I.E.L.D., we got Arrow, and we got The Flash all rolling out the big guns here so they go out with a bang and leave the fans hanging. So we got some big episodes to talk about here. And tonight's dinner is chicken salad and some grapes. Again, because I didn't have time to make anything. And for the record, I'm sorry that last week's episode got cut off prematurely. I was going to try to get it back up, but really all that was left to do was to talk about the Terminator Genesis trailer and then call it a night, so I didn't see much point. Anywho, if you have any questions or comments about any of the shows we're going to talk about tonight, write them down there in the comments section. Or if there's anything else you want to know about, I guess we can talk about that too once we get done discussing all the shows. Those comments will be saved until the end. Excuse me. Allergies. Anyway, without further ado, let's do it. All right, Constantine. We got episode 7, Blessed Are the Damned. Constantine and Zed investigating a preacher who miraculously came back to life after being bitten by a poisonous snake with the power to heal people thanks to interference from an angel who may have motivations that are not as pure as they seem. Wow. Really schizophrenic episode here. I thought the opening teaser was really hokey, actually. You get this southern, old-timey preacher in this really old-fashioned church that looked like it belonged in the 1920s or something. He gets bit by the snake, comes back to life, and then he touches the amputee guy whose leg just magically reappears. It all just seemed borderline cartoonish. And then later on, when the amputee guy goes nuts and he gets possessed by whatever was possessing those people, and he starts running on all fours, oh, come on, that was just silly. That was just silly. So at that point, I thought this episode was going to be a huge misfire. But then it changed. And it started when they found all those dead fish in the lake. And I thought, wow, you know, that's like Ben from Carnival. You know, he's healing people, but the power comes at a price. That's actually really cool. Remember Carnival? Man, that was a great show. You know, I missed that show, damn it. And anyway, my opinions kept changing on a lot of this as we learned more about the preacher. You know, we see that he's not as simple a character as he appears. His intentions are not entirely pure. They are altruistic, but they're also self-righteous and self-serving. But he does seem to genuinely mean well, at least. And then it turns out that he's really just a pawn in someone else's scheme, which was a twist I did not see coming. And I liked all this because this was a take on the villain of the week formula that we hadn't really seen yet, where it's really not as cut and dry as it appears. And, you know, having the injured angel, Imogen, you know, turn out to be the actual villain was really cool. They hadn't talked about the fallen angels, like fallen angel stuff on this show yet, and I thought that was a really clever way to introduce this concept. You know, great visual effects on that too. You know, when she like rose up and the wings turned black and stuff, that was a pretty scary moment, actually. Something else I really liked a lot was how they ultimately beat the bad guy this week, because one of my regular complaints about this show is that the villains tend to be defeated very easily. You know, with Constantine just saying a few funny-sounding words that just magically solve the problem. Here it's not that simple. You know, this time there's not a lot that John can do when he has to convince Manny to do it. And Manny doesn't really want to get involved because of reasons. But ultimately he does, ripping Imogen's heart out with his bare hands, which was awesome. But this is something that there's going to be repercussions for, which is good. You know, it's still a victory, but it's not something that come by easily, and there's a price to be paid later. Okay, good. I like this. Although I have to say, when it was all said and done, Imogen's plan ultimately didn't make a lot of sense. She tore out her own wing feather and gave it to the preacher guy, which he took because he didn't want to go to hell, but on the assumption that he would use it to heal a whole bunch of people who would then go nuts, maybe take him out and return the feather to her before she died on the mortal plane. I get that she was so desperate to escape hell that she was willing to take some big risks, but it seemed like there was an awful lot that could go wrong with that plan. And how did Manny not know that she was fallen when he met her? I mean, he's an angel too. Wouldn't he be able to sense that kind of thing? I guess not, but that seemed odd. Still, an evil fallen angel made for a really interesting villain here, as opposed to the usual villain of the week. So much so that I really wanted her to stay alive so she could be a recurring character. I was disappointed when they killed her off. I wanted to see more of her. And I really hope we haven't. I really hope this is an angle that they explore more on this show, because fallen angels, that's a really interesting concept. So yeah, this episode didn't start out so well, in my opinion, but they really stuck the landing great. They introduced a really interesting new subplot a couple of them actually, with this idea of there being fallen angels out there who want the Earth for themselves, which is a pretty scary idea. Manny possibly facing consequences for killing Imogen, and that thing with Zed and that guy from her art class at the end too. Maybe that ties into her family looking for her or something else. So despite the shaky beginning, I ended up really liking this episode a lot. And I don't expect there to be any comments yet because there usually aren't for the first couple of minutes. Actually we do. Let's see. That gaming asshole. I think it's kind of obvious that the Black Angel dude will betray Constantine. Kind of telegraphed, you know? Possibly. I was kind of thinking that it'll be Zed who betrays him. Maybe not willingly. She might be coerced or possessed or something. But yeah, I was leaning more towards Zed actually. I think Manny. I don't know if you'd even really count Manny as an ally that much because he's sort of like advising Constantine, but he really does seem to want to stay out of it for the most part. But who knows? Possibly. Costaledius. Damn. Costaledius. Constantine was only scheduled for 13 episodes. Will it survive the axe from NBC, in your opinion? Well, you know what? Let's check for a second. I hadn't really been keeping up with the ratings for Constantine. Not sure where to find them. Spoiler TV usually posts these things. Here we go. Final adjusted TV ratings for Friday the 5th of December, 2014. That would be the previous episode, but okay, Constantine episode 7, Blessed Are the Damned, demographic 0.8. Ouch. Total viewers 3.17 million. Wow. With demos like that, I don't like their chances. Well, we got actually Grim for that week did a 1.2 demographic, which is not that much higher. But Grim has been surviving on Friday for several years. Of course, their ratings are higher too. So I don't know. Network might not have huge expectations because it is a Friday show, but with an 0.8 demographic, their chances probably aren't great. Damn, that's too bad. So, will it survive the axe? Unless the ratings pick up, I doubt it. That gaming asshole. What exactly the Rising Knight is, however, is more of an intriguing mystery. Clearly not the devil, but what I can't say. Maybe something out of left field, like a fallen Jesus or something. Boy, a fallen Jesus, that'd be interesting, wouldn't it? A fallen, an evil Jesus. Best big bad ever. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I am intrigued by this whole Rising Knight thing. Apparently, the barrier between Earth and Hell is getting thinner. They haven't really explained that too much yet or gone into a lot of detail, but it is like a really fascinating concept to have this be like the impetus for all this evil shit going on. I think it is interesting, and hopefully they'll be able to explore that before the show gets canned, if they get canned. Okay. All right, moving on. Excuse me 1 second. Need fuel. So once again, I skipped breakfast. Okay. Flash. Episode 9, The Man in the Yellow Suit. The Reverse Flash finally shows up. Barry fights him. Firestorm also shows up. Wackiness ensues. You know, I really liked the action in this episode. You know, the fight scenes with the two Flashes were great. It was epic as they should have been. Yeah, really enjoyable, and all that stuff lived up to the hype. But that's pretty much par for the course with the Flash. You know, action has never been this show's problem. Its problems were and continue to be underwritten, one-dimensional villains, an inconsistently written and developed lead character, and some critical character dynamics that just flat out do not work the way they're supposed to. And the longer that goes on, the less effective of a distraction from it the action is going to be. Now, it did seem like this episode was trying to address at least some of these issues. You know, while we still don't know what his deal is, I'll take the Reverse Flash over most of these villains of the week who are given almost no motivation beyond evil because we need a bad guy for the episode. You know, here's a villain that's genuinely interesting and should solve the problem of the writers having to make Barry behave like an idiot just so he doesn't defeat this person immediately. That's not an issue here because the Reverse Flash is more powerful than Barry. Problem solved, you know? In fact, I don't think Barry acted like a dumbass once in this episode, which was refreshing. Because they actually had a villain who is a real threat to him now, not a manufactured threat. A guy that should and does present an honest-to-God struggle for Barry to overcome. And that makes a big difference. And then there's this stuff with Barry and Iris. You know, a big part of me wonders if the casting director just got this wrong. To me, Barry and Iris have a brother-sister chemistry. Every time they try to play the romantic angle, I just don't buy it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they'd gotten similar complaints about this from other fans, because they're definitely getting more aggressive with trying to make the romance subplot work. I don't know if it's going to. It's not necessarily something you can force into existence if it's not there. But I'll give them points for trying at least. Yeah, the chemistry might change now that Iris at least knows about Barry's feelings for her. And if he was going to admit that, I'm glad he did it. I'm glad he did it now and not like 5 seasons from now. But I'm still skeptical about this whole thing. Especially since it seems like Eddie Thawne becoming suspicious of Barry's feelings for Iris is going to be the primary motivating factor in Eddie becoming an antagonist. For that to work in any way, we have to buy the Barry-Iris connection and the Eddie-Iris connection, and quite frankly, I don't buy either one. I don't. I give exactly 0 shits about the Eddie-Iris relationship. Even as a transparent roadblock to Iris hooking up with Barry, I just don't care. There's 0 chemistry between them, and their entire relationship happened off-screen. They supposedly care about each other enough to move in together, and we don't know why. They just say so because that's what needs to happen in the story. And now, except for a scene here and there to move the plot forward, we only see them so Barry can get jealous. If the writers plan on turning this into a bona fide love triangle, I'm afraid it's going to seem really superficial, like they haven't earned it at all. You know, they're trying to take a step in the right direction here with Barry telling Iris how he feels, at least, and the two of them stepping into more emotional territory, whether it's by choice on Iris's part or not. So we'll see if anything changes here. I don't know if it will, but I'll give them a chance. You know, right now, though, I'd still much rather see Barry with Caitlin, honestly. But that's going to get a lot messier now that Ronnie's back. Ronnie, whose powers seem less like Firestorm and more like the Human Torch. But whatever. I'm still not really buying this Caitlyn Ronnie thing because this is another relationship that happened. Excuse me. Because this is another relationship that happened entirely off camera. I think Danielle Panabaker managed to sell it better this time, and I generally liked what they did with this and with the character. You can see how troubled and mentally unbalanced he is, and it looks like there's an interesting story there. That part was good. I'm intrigued to see where they go with it, but this whole subplot with Ronnie showing up kind of felt tacked on to me. If you want to do Firestorm, more power to you. But give him his own episode so you can spotlight him properly when you introduce him. Why is he being relegated to the B-plot when Barry is fighting the Reverse Flash? So I liked the Firestorm stuff, but it just felt out of place here, like they were trying to do 2 episodes in one. Now, stuff that did work really well here, I loved how the episode began, not wasting 1 second. First thing you see, Barry fighting the Reverse Flash. Boom. There's your hook. Great intro. The whole scene where they trapped the Reverse Flash in the force field and tried talking to him was very well done and very ominous. If he's still blurring his face, then he has to be someone these people know, right? But then when we find out that there could be more than one of these guys, it opens up a lot of intriguing possibilities. Like maybe he's someone close to them. Maybe he's a future version of Harrison Wells or Eddie Thawne, while one of them are the present-day version, and they're just not aware of that. They're not aware that they're the same person. It's time travel stuff. It's bound to get really fucking confusing, and it could quite easily become really fucking silly if they're not careful. But it's fun to think about. I loved how they had Amanda Pays from the original Flash series guest star here, and she was even playing Tina McGee again. And that was really cool. I really hope they get her and John Wesley Shipp in a scene together at some point. It's not something that new viewers would know or care about, but I appreciated that. Also, the scene with John Wesley Shipp as Barry's dad talking to Barry at the prison, that was a great scene, and probably some of the best acting we've seen on the show so far. I just wish they hadn't counterbalanced it with the flashbacks of the mother, which are just so hammy and cheesy every time they do it. Oh, man. Every time they do these flashbacks, it feels like some of the weakest stuff on the whole show. Just the way these scenes are staged is ridiculous. She's all, "Oh, good night, my big, beautiful boy." Who talks like this? Really? Who casually says good night to their son like this? This line is written like that as if she knows this is her last moment she has with her son before she gets killed. But because she's not supposed to know that, and as far as she knows, this is just any other night, the whole thing just feels really heavy-handed and contrived and phony. So I guess you could say that everything in this episode that was either directly dealing with the Reverse Flash or the characters doing something because of the Reverse Flash was really, really good. Most of the other stuff was either problematic at best or just didn't feel like it belonged in this episode, in my opinion. So that was The Flash, and I had a bunch of Twitter questions about this. So just do those now. Pedro Valenti sent a bunch of questions. It might be Wells, but the fact that the Reverse Flash didn't attack Eddie was weird. Yeah, I noticed that. I really hope they don't turn Eddie into a supervillain, because it just seems so like such an obvious way to go, and it's such an easy out for this love triangle thing. It's because, well, he's a supervillain, so that gives you a reason to hate him, and so you don't have to deal with any of these, tough emotional problems that come from, Iris being in a relationship with this guy. It just makes him easier to hate, which I don't necessarily like. It's just taking the easy way out. Here I was thinking we would get a Ronnie-based episode, and we get this. What a waste of time. I wouldn't call it a waste of time. I just think it was dumb to have Firestorm relegated to the B-plot in the episode where he debuts for realsies. I wouldn't say a waste of time. I think it was a waste of the character. I think if they were going to debut, if and when they were going to have Firestorm showed up, it should have been in an episode where they could spotlight him properly. And I was commenting on the flashbacks. I said, Lord, these flashbacks with the mother are cheesy. And then Pedro Valenti says, yes, they were, but on a positive note, we got Barry and Iris being emotional. Yeah. Yeah, I'm still really not feeling the chemistry there, but they're at least trying to generate some. I think having Iris not being aware of Barry's feelings was really hurting that. Maybe now that she knows about them, things will change. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know. But it's they needed some kind of damage control with that. It looks like they're trying, so we'll see if anything improves. Glad they didn't go with Barry telling Iris he was drunk with her grandmother's eggnog, and that's why he said he loved her. Yeah, they didn't take it back at least, which was nice. To just reset us back to square one, and square one wasn't really working for those characters, so I'm glad they stuck with it. Oh, that's for Arrow. Oh, my bad. Wasn't really paying attention when I labeled these. These are all Arrow questions. Okay, so I will just do that now. Okay, Striffen 19. So what I think is going on with the Reverse Flash is, unlike Barry, whose powers come from within, his powers come from the suit. Okay. Well, we don't really have enough evidence to point to either one, so that could very well be the case. The Reverse Flash we saw from the future, came back to steal the tachyon generator so Wells could plug it into the suit, which is where the speed power comes from. Basically, anyone who puts on the suit can become the Reverse Flash. Like Eddie. Okay, you might be right about that. I confess I didn't see the last minute or two of the show, because they gave it a few extra minutes. But at 19, I switched over to ABC, because S.H.I.E.L.D. was starting. So I missed the last little bit. I did, watch Charlie's review of the show. So I found out what happened. I saw pictures and stuff. But, yeah, you might be right about that. Who knows? Of course, we don't really know what the tachyon generator, what he wants that for. Although he was looking for a way to steal the Flash's powers, as we saw previously, so we don't really know. Maybe the tachyon generator is going to be a way to simulate artificially generate Flash powers. Who knows? Okay. And yeah, all right. And let's see if there's any questions in the peanut gallery. Come on, Google Plus, help me out here. All right. That gaming asshole. I missed one episode of the stream because I was watching Lesbian Peter Pan. Yeah, there was a surprising amount of gay undertone in that Peter Pan special, wasn't there? It's kind of strange. All right. That gaming asshole. They're going to have to really downgrade Firestorm's powers, dude, because in the comics, he's basically more powerful than Superman, just less versatile. He can, point at the moon and make it a star, or vice versa if he wants, or look at a bad guy and make them vanish from existence. Here, he seems to be to just be Pyro from X-Men, which is fine, I guess. I think he's more like the Human Torch, but yeah, I'm not too familiar with Firestorm from the comics. I know he's kind of like a two people combined into one. I'm not sure how all that all works, but whatever his powers are, yeah, they're really downgrading them. I guess he's just going to be a fire guy, and that's it. At least that's what it appears to be for right now. That's probably the only way they could do Firestorm, because if he's as powerful as you say he is, then they were going to have to downgrade him or just not use him at all. That gaming asshole. Reverse Flash is powered by time travel, so he's not actually faster than the Flash. He uses bullet time and teleportation. He's more like the guy Hero. He's more like the guy Hero from Heroes than a true speedster. Also, definitely Eddie Thawne, all but confirmed. All right. Okay, I'm not really too familiar with the Flash mythos, but okay, I'll take your word for it. Yeah, I think the fact that he didn't attack Eddie Thawne is pretty much a dead giveaway. So he's got to be involved in that somehow. If there's more than one, then I guess one could be Harrison Wells, one could be Eddie Thawne from the future. Maybe I don't know. Kind of wish they wouldn't go in that direction. It just seems too obvious to me, but whatever. Okay, Duke Nukem 3DO. No hard feelings, but are you being too hard on the Flash? I don't think so. I think I'm pretty fair with my comments about the Flash. There are just a bunch of things I think that the show needs to improve upon. A lot of shows go through growing pains. I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D. went through a lot of growing pains in the first season. There are a lot of things I think Flash gets right, but I'm not gonna ignore the problems if I'm reviewing the show every week. I try to give a fair criticism of the show. There's just a lot of stuff that I find that I have to nitpick every week, and I don't think those are unfair criticisms. I really don't. Monty Dada, off topic, but are you going to watch tonight's NXT special? It was incredible. This reminded me why I'm a wrestling fan. As I understand it, it was going on right. It's either going on right now or it just finished. And no, I was helping. I was doing other stuff, bringing in groceries and stuff. So no, I didn't catch it, unfortunately. That gaming asshole. If you think the relationship writing on Flash is bad, watch Sleepy Hollow. They basically set up Crane and Abby, the cop girl, from day one, then throw in some bullshit about his wife, who is literally the least interesting love interest ever. No, I haven't seen Sleepy Hollow. Although apparently that show, I've heard a lot of people saying that show was actually really good, despite having the most ludicrous premise ever. So I may have to check that show out at some point just to see what the hype is. Because apparently it's like a really good show despite itself. I don't know. I believe that's it for the Flash. Just to refresh the page. Yeah. All right. Okay, we can move on to Arrow now. Let's see that. Now, where are my notes here? Here we go. Okay. Arrow, Season 3, Episode 9. The Climb. Okay. The climb. Team Arrow finds out that Thea murdered Sarah because she was drugged by Malcolm Merlyn as a way to hurt Oliver by way of the League of Assassins. Oliver has to fight Ra's al Ghul. He loses, and Ra's al Ghul kills him, surprisingly. Wow. Another really schizophrenic episode here. I will say there were some really great moments in this one. The ending cliffhanger was a real jaw-dropper. But those great moments were sprinkled in between a bunch of other things that were actually kind of bad. I was really impressed with all the twists and turns here, like finding the DNA evidence on the arrow that killed Sarah pointing to Oliver, of all people. Then finding out that it was actually Thea. Maceo showing up in present day, finding out that Thea was lying about Malcolm Merlyn. They kept just throwing curveballs at us, one after the other after the other. And just about all of them worked great and really kept me on my toes through the whole episode. But then you have the other stuff, like Laurel, for example. God. How is it possible that every single time, without fail, Laurel gets all the dumbest material to work with? I don't know. But somehow she does. They have this scene where she's at Sarah's grave. It's the same scene you've seen a million times in TV and movies where the person is talking to their dead loved one's gravestone like the dead person can hear them somehow. I don't want to be mean about this, but no matter how many times this is done, it's never not cheesy as hell. It's just not. It's just, I've never seen this done in an emotionally affecting way. It just seems really corny. I mean, maybe in Rocky Balboa when he's talking to Adrian's grave, but oh, fuck off. Damn phone. Yeah, machine will get it. But it couldn't hold a candle to the scene with Laurel and her mother at dinner, where the mother learns that Sarah's dead. Oh my God, this was stupid. The mother is spewing this BS about a mother's intuition, like it's some kind of borderline psychic link between mother and daughter. And almost without Laurel even saying anything, the mother figures out that Sarah must be dead because magic, apparently. What? Come on. Are you kidding me with this hokey nonsense? Come on, Arrow writers, you guys are better than this. That was just silly. If you wanted to reveal to the mother that Sarah's dead, there were better ways to do it than that. Come on. By the way Laurel's dad has just kind of faded into the background this season is really starting to annoy me. Because Quentin's a good character. They're really not using him for anything other than to fuel this Laurel storyline where she's like, oh, I can't tell him because of his health problems, and finding out that Sarah's dead, it would kill him. Otherwise we don't even really see him that much. At this rate, I will be stunned if Quentin is not killed off before the season is over. I think he's at the top of the list right now. I would not expect him to survive this season, and that's a shame. And then there's the Ray Palmer stuff. Oh boy. Every time I think this guy can't get any more stalkerish, he does. Now he's following Felicity to public places. How he knew she was at the club, I'm not sure. Apparently he's tracking her somehow, and that is really fucking creepy. And their following conversation wasn't much better. He's talking about how his fiance was murdered, and I think we're meant to feel bad for him, but with the way he delivered with the way Brandon Routh played it during this whole monologue, instead of eliciting sympathy, he comes off more like a ticking time bomb. That's the impression I got from this scene. I don't know if we were supposed to feel bad about him, feel bad for him or what, but I got kind of creeped out. It's like, this guy is just liable to go completely nuts and do something really bad. And like, Felicity, get the hell out of there. This guy is unstable. You know? I mean, this whole Ray Felicity thing is so strange and so messed up because there is a legit chemistry between Brandon Routh and Emily Bett Rickards. But for some reason, whenever the writers try to push the romantic subtext, it ends up feeling like a stalker and stalkee, where everything is really forced and weird and awkward. It just doesn't work. And not because we're supposed to want Felicity to be with Oliver either. There's something about this Ray-Felicity dynamic, either between the characters or the actors or the writers, that is just not clicking like it's supposed to. I can't put my finger on what it is exactly, but it's a problem. And it's only becoming more noticeable. And speaking of big problems, let's talk about Malcolm Merlyn's plan for a second. Now, I did like Oliver's reaction to Thea possibly being Sarah's killer. You know, even if she would, even if she could, the why of it makes no sense whatsoever. I liked that a lot, because that was pretty much my reaction too. It's like, but why on earth would she possibly do this? There's no reason for it. That was my reaction to when anyone would ask me, what if Malcolm and Thea killed Sarah? I didn't think it would happen because like, what would they possibly have to gain from that? And now, having heard Malcolm's reasons for doing it, I still don't know. Because ultimately, Malcolm's plan is kind of insane. His plan is to use this Deus Ex Machina concoction that can basically hypnotize people so that they'll do anything and not remember it afterward, to drug Thea with it, have her kill Sarah just so he could film her killing Sarah, a film that he would then use to blackmail Oliver into protecting Thea by challenging Ra's al Ghul to mortal combat before he finds out that Thea killed Sarah and kills her. This, of course, is assuming that the drug would be effective enough on Thea to make her forget that she committed murder, that Thea, in her drug-addled haze, would be able to kill someone trained by the League of Assassins, that Oliver wouldn't just tell Thea what was going on and figure out some kind of plan with her, and that Ra's al Ghul would react to all this the way he did. You had to take this with a boulder of salt, because that whole plan was so incredibly complicated, with so many things that could potentially go wrong, that the fact that Malcolm even tried it in the first place, much less pulled it off, is almost ludicrous. Although I have to give him credit, because it worked. I mean, it was crazy, but it worked. So, points for creativity, Malcolm Merlyn? I don't know. And the League of Assassins ultimatum. Damn, this is weird too. I mean, they tell him, find Sarah's killer within like 2 days, or we go on a murderous rampage in Starling City. What's that going to accomplish? I mean, what if finding the killer within that time was just not within Oliver's means? I mean, the League is like a 4-year-old here. You know, give us what we want or we smash stuff. They're kind of megalomaniacal in this situation. I don't know. In my experience, Ra's al Ghul was always more calculating than that. I I don't know how I feel about this, but it's like, well, Ra's al Ghul was using his power as a sledgehammer instead of a scalpel, and I don't know. I don't know how he is like in the comics. My exposure to Ra's al Ghul is mostly from Batman the Animated Series, and I know he did some crazy shit on that show too. But I don't know. I guess they just got a different take on it. Then we got the fight sequences. We had the Arrow versus Thea, surprisingly. I actually didn't think that was very good. Not that it was bad at all. It wasn't. It just looked more fake than we're used to seeing on this show. My guess is that Willa Holland insisted on doing that one herself because it looked very much like someone who doesn't have a ton of fight training, just running through choreography. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't up to the usual standards that this show has set for itself. But I'll give him this. That is only because Arrow has set the bar so incredibly high when it comes to fight sequences. So they're not always going to be able to reach it, I guess. Oliver versus Ra's al Ghul was better. Yeah, and then the ending. Holy shitballs. Ra's al Ghul wins, stabs Oliver through the chest, knocks him off a mountain, and apparently kills him. So I guess we're doing the Lazarus Pit when the show comes back. That's cool. That was a really shocking moment. And holy gods. I mean, no one expects you to kill off the lead character. I know it's happened in a few other shows. Buffy did it. I believe Earth Final Conflict did it a couple times, actually. But yeah, that was a shocker. But they gave themselves an out for this by setting up the Lazarus Pit, which, with Roz saying that no one had challenged him in like 67 years or something, obviously hinting at the Lazarus Pit being what's kept him alive so long. So we pretty much know how Oliver's coming back, which does take a little bit of the wind out of the sail here, but it was still a really shocking moment and a great cliffhanger. However, I do wonder how the hell the show can keep topping itself with these shocking deaths before they start jumping the shark. And I know I've talked about this before, but I don't know how much longer they can keep this up. Like I said, I don't expect Quentin to survive the season, but after him, I mean, who else can they kill off? I mean, they're going to start dipping into the main cast, I guess, to keep the stakes high. I don't know. I suppose we'll find out over time. So that was the Arrow mid-season finale. Kind of a mixed bag for me. There were some terrific moments mixed in with some moments that were not so good. Malcolm Merlin's plan was straining credibility an awful lot, but the really shocking ending helped save the episode for me. So I still ended up feeling pretty good about it. And Twitter questions. Okay, this is a response to something I said. I said Ray Palmer equals stalker. And Pedro Valenti says, or Pedro Lunian, at Pedro Lunian, says, I hate the guy. Whenever he's on, I fast forward. Yeah, I don't hate him as a character. I think mostly it's just the Ray Felicity stuff that's just not working. But yeah, that since that's mainly what they're focusing on at this stage, it's kind of awkward. So they might need to do a little bit of character surgery with that. And here I am, I'm saying, so next would be the Lazarus Pit, right? And then we have Pedro Valenti, at Pedro Lunian, says, of course, 2 more huge scars for Oliver. Loved the I love you to Felicity. Yeah, that was a nice moment, too. When Oliver was saying goodbye to Dig, and Roy and Felicity in there. That was a nice moment. I really do like the Oliver Felicity relationship. She he has a habit of being attracted to women who are as damaged as he is, and it's always a toxic relationship. It never works out for him. But here we have Felicity, who appeals to his humanity. I think that's why people like that relationship so much. It is really sweet. So that was a really nice scene too. Is there any other Twitter questions? No. Okay. So see if we got any Arrow questions in the comments section. This one for S.H.I.E.L.D. Firestorm, Reverse Flash. Arrow from Elsa Morty. Arrow question. Even if we know that Oliver will survive, that ending was painful. There's only so much a man can take. But don't you think that the use of magical cures takes away the realistic aspect of the show? I just hope it won't be a pretext to bring back randoms from the dead. Thank you. That's a good point. Yeah, I think they've always tried to keep Arrow as realistic as possible. They really the Flash was like the first like bona fide superpowered person that they had on the show. Even we had like even the Mirakuru soldiers. They had like a down to earth, semi realistic explanation for it. But now they're doing I guess they're doing the Lazarus Pit, assuming that's where they're going with this. Yeah, I guess they're taking a step away from the realism, but I think they have shown by now that they can come up with takes on established comic lore that don't betray the approach that they've set up for the show too much. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they've got a realistic take on it. Who knows? But yeah, I hope they don't get too comic booky with it, because I think that's part of what makes the show work is the gritty realism. Let's see. Yeah, more Flash questions. We'll get to those after. TKO Rising. Did the fight scene between Oliver and Ra's al Ghul remind you of the 90s Batman animated series, the Demon's Quest episode where Batman and Ra's al Ghul square off shirtless in a sword fight? I haven't rewatched those episodes in a while. But yeah. Yeah, yeah, kind of. Monte Dada, do you think Black Driver, guess you mean Dig, Black Driver, Diggle, or Red Arrow will fill in as Green Arrow in Oliver's absence in the next few episodes? Yeah, possibly. They did set that up because Dig has put on the Arrow suit to fool people on a couple occasions. I guess Roy could pinch hit for Oliver in the meantime. Although I believe when the show comes back, that's going to be the three-parter that focuses heavily on Laurel. So that might give them an out if they don't want to bring Oliver back immediately. And I would hope they draw that out for a little bit, because bringing him back like so quickly from death would feel like a cop-out. Just let it play out. Milk the drama of the situation. Don't bring it back immediately. That's like Smallville shit. And if we're gonna be focusing on Laurel for the next several episodes, that could be where they're going, I guess. More Flash questions. Get to those later. Monte Dada, it would be so great if they could bring back Sarah with Oliver in the Lazarus Pit so we don't have to live with Laurel as the Canary. Yeah, I think that that window is closed now. Maybe they could have brought back Sarah if they put her in the Lazarus pit right after she died, but she's been dead for a few months now, so she's. I don't know if I don't think her body is can be saved at this point. Let's see. That gaming asshole. Ray Palmer is less of a stalker now and more of a clearly a villain pretending to be altruistic, like some incarnations of Lex Luthor, or how Merlin was at the start of the series. I don't know if I go that far. That far. Um, we know he's not as altruistic as he seems. Because he did some underhanded shit to gain control of Queen Consolidated in the premiere. I think it's less likely that he's a villain pretending to be a good guy, and more likely kind of an anti-hero situation where he wants to do good, but he's going to have some less. He's going to have some not so idyllic methods. Maybe like Oliver was in the beginning. That gaming asshole. I figure that Thea wasn't hypnotized and was just helping her dad because she's evil. They may be trying to make her into Artemis, who was a gray area anti-villain from DC. I don't think so. I think it's possible, but I don't think so. Maybe they could develop Thea into what you're saying down the line, but I think it's just too soon for her to go that far in the other direction. I think her motivations and whether she's going to go toward the good guys' side or just turn toward the bad guys is something they're playing with this season. Maybe that question will come up again. But for her to just be a cold-blooded killer at this stage of the game, I think it's just too soon for that. Could be wrong, though. Let's see. S.H.I.E.L.D. That gaming asshole. Yeah, the writing of Ra's al Ghul in this series is somewhat off target. He'd never accept this obvious BS confession and would see through it pretty quick. Yeah, that was another thing. It seemed kind of obvious that Ra's al Ghul wasn't buying Oliver's confession that he killed Sarah. It seemed like Ra's was seeing right through that. But then he accepted it anyway? Wouldn't he just want to get to the bottom of it instead? That was weird. Did he just want to accept the challenge because he was itching for a fight? I don't know. He'd never accept this obvious BS confession and would see through it pretty quick, which would lead to him just killing Merlin anyway, which is why this seems so bizarre. Also, Merlin is no criminal mastermind in the comics. He's just a thief like Captain Cold and a mercenary soldier. He led some other mercs once, I think, but still, they were just hired killers. Okay. Well, so that's a change from the comics. I kind of like what they do with Merlin on the show, so I'm fine with that. Let's see. Oh, right. Oh, no, we did Twitter questions already. Okay, so if there are any further Arrow questions that I missed, I'll get to them afterward. Okay, for now, I'm going to move on to S.H.I.E.L.D., and then we'll get to anything I missed afterward, okay? All right. Okay. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2, Episode 10. What they, excuse me, what they become. Oh boy. Wow. So much stuff happened in this episode. Huge reveals and developments. From a dramatic standpoint, this might have been the best episode of the entire series up to this point. Because in a lot of ways, this is what they've been building to since the pilot. Yeah, we got the answer to who S.H.I.E.L.D. is, who her dad is. We got the Terrigen Crystal, the Inhumans. I don't even know where to start with this, really. There was so much going on. So let's just start at the beginning, I guess. Amazing opening sequence here, with the Hydra jets circling back to shoot down the bus. You know, May sending the plane, like diving into the cloud cover and then releasing all that stuff out of the cargo bay to destroy the missiles and cover their escape. That was beautiful. And the visual effects in that sequence were amazing. That was almost like a movie. But what this episode was really about was the big story and emotional payoffs. You know, and stuff like S.H.I.E.L.D. meeting her father, Cal, as in Calvin Zabo, Mr. Hyde. They finally let that cat out of the bag. So S.H.I.E.L.D. finds out about her dad and how her mother was killed and gets more clues about what she is. And Kyle MacLachlan was amazing in this scene because he's obviously a dangerously unhinged killer, but he's also being a real dork about this family reunion stuff. Like about it like being what he imagined it would be, like wanting to have cookies when she finally showed up. I mean, how could you not laugh at that? It's so ridiculous. And this is a really great character because he makes no bones about the fact that he's a monster who just leaves a trail of bodies behind him. But at the same time, he's sympathetic because he's only like this because his family was taken away from him and his whole life was destroyed by forces beyond his control. And now he's using those same forces to get his family back before he turns the tables on them and rips Whitehall to pieces. Best day ever. That line was awesome. It's crazy because under different circumstances, they could have been on the same side here. Because Cal just wants his daughter back. You know, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s been looking for her parents for years. And he even hates the same people she hates. Whitehall, Hydra, etc. But he also wants S.H.I.E.L.D. to realize her quote-unquote destiny, much like Reyna does, and that's where it gets complicated. Really great scene with these two. So then we got Whitehall and his people converging, and all the bad guys come together, and it's amazing how quickly this scene just dissolves into chaos. Because as it turns out, Ward really didn't think ahead here. He didn't have an excuse for not ordering the Hydra jets to shoot down the bus. So I'm not sure what his plan was here, or if he even had one beyond getting S.H.I.E.L.D. to her father. And at this point, I'm guessing he didn't. He's just so single-minded in that regard. That's the only thing he cares about, apparently. So I can only imagine how he felt later on when he told S.H.I.E.L.D. that he'd get them out of there, only for her to just pick the gun off the downed guard and just pump him full of bullets. She doesn't even hesitate. Just whoop. He just goes down. He's like, "What the? Come on!" That was my favorite moment of the whole episode. That was fantastic. And she just walks away, just nonchalantly. It's great. So S.H.I.E.L.D. and Cal and Ward are being detained by Whitehall and his people, among them Agent 33. And holy shit, Agent 33 is creepy as hell. It's not just having May's destroyed face that does it, but the metallic, staticky voice and her completely emotionless delivery. Like in making her comply, Whitehall just stripped everything human away from her and turned her into a monster completely loyal to him. Which makes 33 all the more interesting when she finds Whitehall dead and then her and Ward go on the run. Just imagine the crazy shenanigans they could get into together. Holy shit. So anyway, they free themselves. Cal goes to kill Whitehall. And we're about to see that big showdown, but in a huge shocker, Coulson shoots Whitehall in the back and kills him. Like from out of nowhere. I couldn't believe that. I mean, Whitehall, for all intents and purposes, was our big bad of the season, or at least I thought he was. I mean, they set him up to be like that. But now it looks like it'll probably be Cal, surprisingly. Or, well, I think we can call him Mr. Hyde now. You know, I mean, he already hated Coulson for being the father figure to Sky that he couldn't be. And now Coulson denied him his revenge on the man who murdered his wife. You know, driving him even further over the edge. So they start fighting, and this surprisingly turns into an MMA fight a little bit, with Coulson breaking out the jiu-jitsu. And as I understand it, Clark Gregg actually does train in jiu-jitsu, though, so that no stunt doubles there. That was all him. And then Hyde just picks him up and slams him down. It was awesome. But Sky stops him from killing Coulson, and we finally get the name drop. Her real name, Daisy. So after a season and a half, we finally got it. Sky is Daisy Johnson from the comics. It's a different origin for her than the one in the comics, but yeah, she's Quake. I didn't think they'd go this route because, well, among other reasons, I heard they were introducing Sky into the Marvel comics, which Daisy is already a part of. So I guess she'll be two different people in the comics and the same person on the show. It's a little confusing, but man, what a great reveal that was. And how satisfying this was after they built it up for so long. And that wasn't even the most satisfying part. By the time we reached the climax, we got Sky and Reyna in the temple underground with the Diviner. Trip runs in there, too, to try to save Sky. Not a good idea on his part, as it turns out. Because then we get the Terrigen Crystal as it pops out of the Diviner. Sky and Reyna experience the Terrigenesis. They officially become Inhumans, and Trip turns to stone and his head breaks off. Not only that, but it was the seismic wave Sky generated that shattered his body. If there was any possible way to return him to normal after he was turned to stone, well, it's gone now. So if you think about it, in a way, Sky killed Trip. Oh man, oh my God, that's brutal. That's brutal. And that is our to be continued. Son of a bitch, that cliffhanger was cruel. My God. So, yeah, that was the end of Trip, apparently. Jed Whedon and Marissa Tancheron confirmed this in interviews after the episode aired. That was no fake out. Trip's dead. Now, if you've been watching the comic show post-show for a while, you know that I wasn't a fan of this character. I just wasn't. So I'm not losing sleep over this. In fact, I think it made a lot of dramatic sense to kill him. You know, he'd been on the show for a while now, and he could have been a good character. But they just did nothing with the guy. You know, they never really fleshed him out. They never turned him into like a real three-dimensional character, really. So, I mean, it's kind of a shame that they couldn't give him some kind of meaningful storyline this season to make him a fully realized person before they did this. But BJ Britt is a regular on another show, so them probably not having him full-time, I guess, was the reason why the character was never expanded upon. And if we're being honest here, if one of the good guys was going to die in this situation, Trip was the obvious one to go. mean, every other character on the team had something going on. So if the purpose was to kill somebody close to Sky to push her development forward, as well as take one of the team off the table without leaving some kind of storyline unfinished, then it was going to be either Trip or May, and they weren't going to kill May. You know, again, kind of a shame because I know a lot of people did like the Trip character. You know, BJ Britt is a likable guy. You know, he seems like a good actor. Yeah, plus, if you watch, you know, the various behind-the-scenes videos that are out there, he's a really charming and funny dude. He really is. But the character just wasn't going anywhere. And if they didn't have him full-time, then there may not have been much opportunity to focus on him that much in the future. So, might sound harsh, but I think it made more sense to kill him. You know, that character was largely superfluous. He didn't really fill any vital role on the show that other members of the team couldn't do. But he was close to the other characters, so you could kill him off for dramatic effect without really knocking any tables over as far as the team dynamics are concerned. You know, again, I know it sounds mean, but unless something was going to change, I think Trip's death could mean more than his continued life would, quite frankly. And he did get a good death, at least. You know, he disarmed all the bombs. He saved everyone who went down into the cavern, Coulson, Sky, Mac, even Reyna. You know, he went out like a hero. And if you have to die, that's a good way to go. And it did add a lot of dramatic weight to this storyline because now the stakes have really been raised. And, you know, I have to give the show credit because there was a big part of me that didn't think they'd have the balls to do this. Because it is ABC and Disney, and you probably can't expect them to get too dark. But no, I mean, the show proved it wasn't fucking around here, and I'll applaud them for that. I really will. So Sky and Reyna break out of their stone cocoon things, and it looks like Reyna's going to look different now. I rooted through the Marvel Wiki to see if there were any Inhuman characters with yellow eyes and spines sticking out of them. Didn't find any. But I did find one Inhuman who has no eyes, named Reader, who I assume was that creepy motherfucker in the Stinger. And, just how about that reveal, huh? And he had another Diviner with him, so this shit is just getting started. Apparently the second half of the season is going to be more focused on the Inhumans and a little less focused on Hydra. The Inhumans, at least one of whom we now know, and probably more, have gone through Terrigenesis, aside from Sky and Reyna. So there's more of them out there. So there's so many cool things we can look forward to in the back half. I can't wait for this. So also we got some stuff on the relationship front to talk about too. Bobby and Hunter are still getting along for now, but I think Mac doesn't think that's going to last, and I don't either. You know, we get another tease about what Bobby and Mac are up to in secret, so they might be bringing Hunter in on this. I still have no idea what that is. Although, my personal headcanon is that Bobby and Mac have been secretly reporting on alien stuff to Abigail Brand. That's what I hope it is. I don't think it is that, but I mean, you got this whole big storyline involving Inhumans and Kree and all this alien hoopla. I mean, how can you not use Abigail Brand for that? Come on, show. Give it to me. Just so that's what I hope it is. And then we've got my favorites, Fitzsimmons. Yeah, they don't give us a lot to go on here. But there is a cute little scene in the honeycomb room where they're working together again, and Fitz is a lot less jittery around her now. They're starting to talk and communicate better, and the tension seems to be abating a little bit. You know, there are still issues between them, obviously, but they're inching closer to getting back into sync like they used to be, and that's really nice to see after they've been estranged for like half the season. There's still a lot that's been left unsaid between them. We don't know if Fitz's move out of the lab is still happening, but I guess they're going to leave that one dangling until the show comes back in March, as well as any further exploration into the relationship type stuff. But we did see them hugging at the end when that seismic wave hit. That was cute. But goddamn, 3 months wait until new episodes start up again. That's gonna suck. But we've got Agent Carter in the meantime. Running for 8 episodes, I believe, starting in January. So that'll be a fun way to tide us over. Anywho, a really, really dynamite mid-season finale from S.H.I.E.L.D. We got the payoffs for a whole lot of stuff that had been building up for a long time. With Skye, Hydra, the Inhumans, a lot of surprises along the way, and some teases of some really awesome stuff coming up in the rest of the season. This was terrific. I wouldn't say it's my absolute favorite episode just for personal preference reasons, but it was easily one of the best the show has ever done, if not the best. Well done, S.H.I.E.L.D. Well done. I think even a lot of online critics who normally bash the show have been begrudgingly admitting that this was a really damn good episode. And I tend to agree with that. This was great. And okay. Close out of that now. Excuse me. Okay. And Twitter questions. Unlike Charlie, I think that Whitehall is dead. As a way I can see it, if he served his purpose, which was to bring Cal, Skye, and Ward and Raina together. I'm undecided on Whitehall. I can see how I think there's a really easy way to bring him back. You can just say that all like the blood and the organs and stuff that he took from Skye's mother kept him alive. Maybe there are like healing properties that could save him. On the other hand, I kind of prefer it if he's dead. Even though he was a really great villain, I think if he's dead, it's just more shocking that way. Because you expect him to stay around for the whole season, and then suddenly, boom, he's dead. Halfway through, it's like, whoa, wow. It's a shocker. Striffin19, I have a feeling Raina is going to be pissed off since Skye didn't want the change while she did, but Skye looks exactly the same while she does not. That could be a good way to go. I think Raina seemed to think that this was going to be something really like magical and something really great, but what if she's one of those Inhumans whose appearance is like totally fucked up? Because we saw that's a big possibility. That one guy has no eyes, and we get the tease that Raina's appearance is going to be different now. Her eyes are different. She's got the spines sticking out of her, so this could mess with her, like everything she believed in. What if she like really believed that this was the way it was meant to be, and it was something that she was destined for, and then, oh my God, I'm hideous. This was a huge mistake. I can't believe I wanted this. And then she just goes batshit insane. That could be something that happens. Striffin19, was it just me, or did anyone else think Trip was going to be an Inhuman when he first stepped into the chamber? I've seen a lot of people theorizing that could still be the case. Mostly just people who don't want to accept that he's dead. Because they were like, oh, but you see, he was in the chamber, and I think it was like Skye's dad said that no one can enter the chamber except those who are worthy. And Mac didn't try to stop him when he went in there. Yeah, that's because Mac was busy with Coulson. Mac was busy fighting Coulson, and you failed to. And they're not getting that Trip did go into the chamber, and then he died. Skye and Raina were covered in like the stone cocoon. Trip turned to stone completely, and then he shattered. His head broke off. He looked pretty dead to me. I mean, I suppose maybe his crumbly remains could like morph into Lockjaw or something. That'd be really stretching it, though. I think mostly it's people just looking for any way they can think of that Trip could be brought back. For me, that would just be way too convenient. And given the way he went out, I think bringing him back that way would just feel like a big cop out, and it would kind of cheapen his death because he had a really good death. He was a hero, and then to just bring him back, yeah. To me, it would just cheapen the whole thing. But that's just me. And Strippin' 19. Which show do you think did the best mid-season finale? Uh, hmm. To me, it was S.H.I.E.L.D. I think, which will not come as a shock to any of you. But Flash was problematic. I think all the Reverse Flash stuff was really really good. But then you had the Firestorm subplot that just felt tacked on, and all the stuff with Iris and Eddie is still not clicking into place like it needs to. I mean, they're trying to run damage control, they're trying to improve it, but it's still a work in progress. And then we had Arrow, which I ended up liking mainly on the strength of the way it ended. And there were a lot of really good twists and turns along the way, but then you got the stuff with Laurel and her mother, and the stuff with Ray Palmer that is just really not working for me. I think from a writing standpoint, Arrow was stronger than Flash, but the stuff with Malcolm was just kind of out there and just really straining credibility. I think S.H.I.E.L.D. was the most tightly written episode, and plus this was the payoff for like a season and a half of storylines. Whereas with Flash, it was just like half a season's worth of stuff. And Arrow, building on this Ra's al Ghul thing, which really had not been built up all that much. I mean, they mentioned him a few times. But mainly it was dealing with the Sarah's murder mystery, and then bringing Ra's al Ghul in on top of all that at the end. I mean, I think they'd mentioned him a few times in the early episodes of the season, and then several episodes went by when nothing really happened with that, and they were focused on other stuff. And then, hey, here's Ra's al Ghul, and this is a thing again. Again, none of the episodes were bad, really. I just felt S.H.I.E.L.D. was the strongest in this case, because that was the culmination of a lot of stuff that they've been building for like a year and a half. So I just felt like S.H.I.E.L.D. was the best one in this instance. All right. Okay. Elsa Morty, which I hope I'm pronouncing right. S.H.I.E.L.D. question. I thought the scene in the cave with Sky and Trip was directed so well and was so beautiful. But what do you think about Sky being a superheroine with superpowers? What's going to be the impact on the show? Yeah, that was a really powerful scene. What got me was the music. I did like the cinematography there, because I mean, obviously they're on a TV budget, so they couldn't show too much. So they compensated with having a lot of that's just like really dark. And but the set was really cool of the chamber itself, and I like the lighting a lot. But the music, Bear McCreary's music in that final sequence was really, really emotional and really powerful. What's going to be the impact on the show now that Sky has superpowers? Good question. I don't know. I think the big hook when the show began last year was Not All Heroes Are Super. And it was supposed to be about people, like normal humans in a world of people with superpowers. And now one of them has powers herself. So it's going to change things. I think some of the I think Jed and Marissa talked about this, how it's going to change her relationship with Coulson and probably the rest of the team, because they're not going to know how to deal with this, with her having powers now. And her saying that she said that she didn't want anything to do with her real father, but he said that he'll always be there for her, and the others aren't going to understand what she is now. So she may be driven back to him because of this. Possibly. Costaledius, is Sky, Daisy, / Quake an Inhuman in the comics? Not in the comics, no. In the comics, Daisy had powers because her father had powers. Like Mr. Hyde experimented on himself, give himself super strength, and then he had Daisy, and his screwy genetics caused her to develop the earthquake powers. But yeah, they changed her origin a little bit here. Now her powers are coming from her Inhuman side, from the Inhuman genes on her mother's side. We still don't know if that's what her dad is. I'm guessing he's not, because we never saw him hold the Diviner, I think. But he knows about Inhuman stuff because of his wife. It could now supposedly they have hinted that he has powers. That could have been just because he experimented on himself after what happened to his wife. Maybe he experimented on himself to give himself powers so he could take revenge on Whitehall someday. But yeah, I think the executive producers have hinted that the Inhuman stuff is where Quake's powers come from in the show. So I'm guessing that's what they're doing. But no, she is not an Inhuman in the comics. So it's a different origin for her, but it's kind of sort of the same thing otherwise. Let's see. Already did those. Elsa Morty. Arrow question. Even if we know that Oliver will survive, that ending was painful. There's only so much a man can take. But don't you think that the... Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. I did this one already. Let's see. Freaking Google Plus always has these things out of order. Monte Data. No, it's... that's a Flash one. We'll get to those in a minute. Firestorm, Canary, Palmer. It's Arrow again. Here we go. Jacob Walton. I'm still going. Let's see. My thoughts on the S.H.I.E.L.D. finale. I really thought this was a great climax of the first half of the season. Shit finally went down, and now we have more questions than answers, like a finale should leave you with. First, I'm glad they had the balls to kill Whitehall, and if they bring him back, I'll be disappointed because I really hate it when Marvel kills characters only for them to bring them back. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Personally, I like dead characters to stay dead unless there's like a really amazing story involved in bringing them back. And plus, Linkara says that he's only in favor of killing characters if more stories can be told with their death than their continued existence. And I think whatever gives you the best story. Personally, I like dead characters to stay dead most of the time. That doesn't usually happen in comics. They usually come back. But I think death has to be final and have consequences at least some of the time. Otherwise, why should you be upset when characters die? So I would prefer it if Whitehall is dead. I think it's more shocking that way. So yeah, I would agree with you on that one. Second, we finally wrap up Skye's arc with her father and who they are. Agreed. I enjoyed the little Fitzsimmons moments in the cave as it was a callback to their old selves. Plus, glad that Mac is still alive. Yeah. And we saw Fitzsimmons slipping back into their old dynamic there. In the cave where they were talking about Fitz said they should split up to plant the bombs more quickly, and he's like, I can do it. I'm all right. And he goes off, and she's like, Fitz, oh right, yeah, other direction. Yeah, that was. They seemed more like their season 1 selves there. I had mixed feelings about that moment because this is the brain damaged guy, and they're playing it for laughs a little bit. It's like it might be in poor taste, but I accepted it. Yes, Mac is still alive. Very happy about that. I did not want Mac to die. He'd become one of my favorite characters, so I'm very happy that he's still alive. Let's see. I kind of got the vibe that Trip was supposed to die in episode 8, but they pushed it back until the finale. Actually, Trip was originally supposed to die in the first season. I think, BJ Britt said this in an interview. I didn't read the whole thing, but according to him, he was supposed to go down when Garrett did. I think that was the original plan, that he was going to be a Hydra agent like Garrett was. But the producers really liked him, so they changed, they switched gears, and they kept him on the team for a while. And but no, I think the plan was for him to die in the cave when Skye did the thing. Could be when he was injured in episode 8. That was to divert suspicion, so we wouldn't suspect it. We're like thinking, well, he dodged 1 bullet, so they're not going to kill him now. Could be why that was done. But the way they said it, the way they said they did this was they wanted this moment when Skye becomes an Inhuman to have consequences and have emotional resonance, and for her to associate the Inhuman thing with the death of one of her close friends. So there's going to be a lot of conflicting emotions for her going forward in regards to the Inhuman stuff. And I guess that's why it happened the way it did. I understand that. I still maintain that it was a good decision to do it the way they did. Plus, I'm interested to see the relationship between Ward and 33. They can do an angle where they both need each other in a way, and Ward did have that fling with May, so they could play off that too. Yeah, that's kind of twisted, isn't it? I mean, 33 is already like mentally fucked up from the brainwashing. We don't know how she's going to behave, because she was brainwashed into being completely loyal to Whitehall, and now Whitehall's dead, so we don't know how that's going to affect her. And plus, she does look like May with a destroyed face. So there's they could do some really twisted stuff with those two together. So my questions are, who do you think Reyna is? Good question. I don't know. Like I said, I did look through the Marvel wiki, looked at all the Inhuman characters. I couldn't find any that looked like I suspect she's going to look. My guess for now is that she'll be someone new, someone not from the comics. I could be wrong on that one, though. Who do you think will take over as the main villain for season 2? Mr. Hyde, Bakshi, No Eyes Guy, Baron von Strucker, etc. My guess would be Hyde. Because he's tied into this whole thing, and they did tease that S.H.I.E.L.D is going to seek him out again. So if there's one big bad this season, I suspect it'll be him. Although Bakshi is still alive, I think it's hilarious that that he's outlasted Whitehall now. That's another character that kind of took on a life of its own, because apparently he was supposed to die in the 5th episode of this season. Jeff Bell said this in an interview when Hyde went to give Whitehall the Diviner, and he beat up a bunch of nameless red shirts. Bakshi was supposed to be killed in that scene. He was supposed to kill Bakshi, but they changed it because they were doing a table read, and he was doing like the line readings and stuff, and they were like, we can't kill this guy. He's too cool. We have to keep him around. So ever since then, they've just been keeping Bakshi around because they really like the actor. I would suspect Bakshi is going to stay alive for a while. Main villain of season 2, I don't think so, but I think he'll be one of those recurring bad guys that just won't go away. The No Eyes Guy, possibly. I suspect we'll be seeing more of him. I think he'll probably help the plot along and help move characters into place. I don't know if he's going to be the main bad guy. I think Hyde is probably the most likely candidate for that, but he could be like a medium bad, like a secondary villain, possibly. Although we don't even know if he's a good guy or a bad guy yet. Could just be a wild card. Baron von Strucker. I hope we see Baron von Strucker at some point. I think Ward name dropped him in a few weeks ago. Apparently he's overseas now, so we don't know what he's going to be doing, what he's going to be up to. But there could be a power vacuum with Whitehall dead. So they could appoint a new. He was one of Hydra's heads, so as the saying goes, cut off one head, 2 more will take its place. So there could be someone new put in charge. Maybe Baron von Strucker. We don't know. That'd be really cool. Hope it goes that route. What angle do you think they'll go with them announcing May's ex-husband reuniting with her in March? Oh yeah, that news came out a couple hours ago. Apparently, Blair Underwood is going to be recurring later in the season as May's ex-husband. And the report I read said that he was some kind of expert. He was like a neurologist and into forensic psychology, and was used to working with people with powers. So possibly they could be using him to deal with Sky's new situation. Him being a neurologist is interesting. Maybe he could be used to help Fitz too. We don't know. My guess is that he'll be used to help Sky. But things could get a little awkward if him and May and Coulson are in the room together. Just saying that could lead to some interesting things. And do you think Ward will be over Sky after she tried to kill him? Possibly. Ward seems to be very single-minded about Sky right now. He's deluded himself into thinking that he still has a chance with her, apparently. Maybe he doesn't think this quite as strongly after she pumped him full of bullets. I don't think that's over, though. I don't think Ward is going to let this go. At least not yet. Although now that he has a traveling buddy in 33, he could get close to her. We'll see. Jacob Walton again. Who do you think will take over as the main villain for season 2? Hyde or Bakshi? Oh, wait, sorry. This is just the same one. Continued. Let's see. That is it's Arrow stuff. Boy, I wish I could categorize these into like different panel so I don't have to read through this constantly. Sift through different questions. Let's see. The save. No, wait. Oh, for God's sake. The Save Me one. Do you think Sky will keep her name, or will she be called Daisy now? My guess is she'll keep a Sky name. I think she's going to be in denial about the Daisy thing for a while. I think if she does start calling herself Daisy, that'll probably be toward the end of the series, whenever that is. It surprised me that they axed Whitehall. With that happening, you have to figure there's an even bigger, badder villain coming in the second half. Yeah, I think that's why they did it, because it was surprising. And Jeff Bell did an interview on the Marvel website, because they interview people who work on the show every week. And he said basically, TV viewing habits have changed because of DVDs and Netflix streaming, and just binge watching is a very big thing now. So viewers get bored a lot more easily, and they want more story to be covered more quickly. And he referenced the X-Files, where it took like 7 seasons to find out what happened to Mulder's sister. And these days, that story would be told in like 1 season. So they've learned that they need to push through story developments a lot faster. So maybe Whitehall would have stuck around if this had happened a few years ago. But now they've got to, they know they have to move the storyline as fast as they can. So they probably learned a few things from the slow pace of the first season. So they're really speeding things up now. I think Whitehall served his purpose, getting Sky and her father and Raina together all in one place. And I guess they're moving him off the board now. That would be my guess. Then there's the bigger, badder villain coming in the second half. I assume that's going to be Hyde. Probably going to have more involvement from the Inhumans. Maybe they'll all get together. We shall see. The Save Me one. It goes to show how far Sky's character has come. That in the first season she could not bring herself to shoot Quinn, but now she can just shoot who knows how many rounds into Ward's back and not think twice about it. Melinda May 2.0. Yeah. Yeah, she's been learning a lot from May apparently over the summer break. She's toughened up a lot. Let's see. That gaming asshole never saw the Mr. Hyde thing coming. Hyde is way stronger in the comics. He's fought Thor to a standstill on a regular basis, so I guess they'll have him get stronger when he's exposed to the Terrigen crystals. Well, a couple things. We don't know if we've seen Hyde at his full power yet. I think they were hinting earlier in the season that he may have some kind of secondary form that we just haven't seen yet. And also, we don't know if he's an Inhuman or not. I don't believe he ever touched the Diviner. So he might be, or he might have strength through artificial means. We don't know yet. Glad they finally gave us something on Quake. Instead of stringing us along, I was afraid they'd put it off for another season. No idea what Raina is now, though. Yeah, Raina's a question mark right now. I'm very anxious to see what she looks like. And supposedly we're going to find out immediately when the show comes back. They said that would happen. Let's see. Elsa Morty. I really liked that even if there was so much chaos in this episode, they took time to give us these moments between Sky and her father. Yeah. It wasn't rushed at all. The directing of those sequences were so good. The writers really know what they're doing. I wasn't familiar with Marvel and the comics before watching the show, and it has made me want to watch all the movies. I'm that impressed. Yeah, this was a really tightly written episode. I think Jeff Bell really knocked it out of the park. They crammed a lot of story into a pretty short time, and it didn't feel rushed. Everything got the right amount of attention. It was a really well made episode. Let's see. Monte Dada. They killed one. Oh boy. Oh boy. They killed one black guy in exchange for another. This is turning into The Walking Dead. In all seriousness, this is the second time I actually really enjoyed watching S.H.I.E.L.D. and wasn't bored throughout the episode since the Writing on the Wall episode. I hope S.H.I.E.L.D. continues to keep my attention when they come back. Well, I'm not going near that first comment you made. That's not necessary. Yeah, I'm glad the episode held your attention, though. Very glad about that. And let's see. That gaming ass. Oh wait. Yeah, still going. That gaming asshole. In the comics, they can just say that Skye is the other daughter of Hyde, and have her develop similar powers. The comics are easy to reconcile. If they had introduced Quake in the show and then pulled this, then we would have had some issues. Yeah, they could do that. Yeah, I don't see why not. That would make sense. Although Skye does have Daisy's name, so he'd have two daughters named Daisy. Whatever. Yeah, that would make sense, I guess, in the comics. That's an easy fix. That gaming asshole. If Max survives all of this, there are a couple of guys he may end up as from the comics. Number one with a bullet being Gorgon, who is the big, strong guy who protects the Inhuman Royals, which basically describes Mac now. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. I'm not familiar with Gorgon. Is Gorgon himself an Inhuman? I don't know, but yeah, that would make sense if whatever affected Mac in down there in the cavern is not done with him yet. If there are lasting effects, that could very well be the case. That's a good point. I would love to see them take a show character and put him in the Inhumans movie. That would really tie the two together. Well, knowing what we now know about Skye, I wouldn't put it past them to put Skye in the Inhumans movie. Or Reyna, for that matter. Or No Eyes Guy. Who knows? Costaledius, do you think Kyle MacLachlan, Chloe Bennett, and Ruth Negga will be in the Inhumans movie? I think it's entirely possible at this stage. Well, I guess it would depend on the filming schedules, because if they're filming, during the fall or the winter or the spring, Chloe Bennett probably wouldn't be available for more than a cameo. But I think Ruth Negga would be more likely. Again, we don't know if Hyde is an Inhuman in the show, but I think Ruth Negga, definitely. I wouldn't be surprised at all if she was in there. That gaming asshole. I'd almost say that Mockingbird is working for Leviathan, since I believe Whitehall is in the comics. Leviathan is a terrorist group who got their powers from aliens. I believe the Inhumans actually, in the comics, a pivotal character betrays S.H.I.E.L.D. for Leviathan, so who knows? Possibly. I believe the plan was to set up Mockingbird for a future appearance in one of the movies, probably one of the Avenger movies. So I don't know how likely that is, unless Bobby is a double agent and not necessarily betraying S.H.I.E.L.D., but kind of working both sides. Possibly. Terp28. I think that was too quick and simple of a death for Whitehall for him to really be dead. But if he is, what becomes of Hydra? I kind of like that it was quick, because it was unexpected. Because you wouldn't have expected Whitehall to go out when he did that quickly. And it was just a big shocking moment. That's what I liked about it. But if he is, what becomes of Hydra? Well, they'll just appoint a new guy in charge. Again, cut off the head, 2 more will take its place. So they got to have other people that can step into that role, like Baron von Strucker. I think that would be a great way to introduce Baron von Strucker. That gaming asshole. I LOL'd so hard my lungs exploded when you said he looks pretty dead to me. Maybe his ashes can become Lockjaw. I don't know. Fucking Christ, dude. Thank you. Glad I could help out. And now I can sift through all these questions again for anything I missed. Motherfucking Google Plus. Things always gonna be out of order. Okay. Just bear with me here. And did that one. Storm versus flight. Ran us back to that one. Monte Data. Do you still think that Wells is not Reverse Flash? I still don't buy it, and I feel like you are too harsh and critical on Flash. I don't see much negativism on the show on other places in reviews. Okay, fair point. Well, they did say that there may be more than one Reverse Flash out there, so if he's not one of them, he could be the other. Or he could be a past version of that character or a future version of that character, because I don't know. These are questions that you have to answer, that you have to ask when there's time travel involved, and there's just so many different ways that can go. And it's why I normally don't like time travel stories, because then you have to deal with issues like this. It gets really complex. I was kind of hoping that he wasn't Reverse Flash, just because that was a little too obvious. But I think he's probably at least one of them at this point. And I feel like you're too harsh and critical on Flash. Okay. Fair point. Maybe I do highlight my issues with the show a little bit too much, just because I'm reviewing them for this live stream every week. I don't know. Maybe I'm just critical by nature of things I like, because I want to examine the bad stuff so we can figure out how to improve it and how to make it better. That's why I review wrestling the way I do every week. I do tend to focus on the bad things, because it's by examining the bad things and figuring out why they're bad that we can improve upon them and make them better. So do I highlight the problems with Flash a little bit too much? Yeah, sometimes maybe. But it's not because I don't like the show, because I do like the show. I just have some issues with it. Let's see. That gaming asshole. As an aside, Firestorm's powers let him control all matter and energy he can see. In other words, he's Dr. Manhattan, but with a personality. They write him as an idiot to keep his powers in line, much like Captain Atom, who also is written poorly to make him seem less powerful and has the same powers, basically. Firestorm and Captain Atom have been shown to be at least equal, if not more powerful than Supes, as his strongest ever. So much so, they made a mini-series about how Firestorm became the world's greatest hero, while Superman dies as a child and he takes his place, and basically is looked upon like a walking god. So in short, yeah, they downgraded his powers like crazy. Okay, well, if Firestorm is supposed to be as powerful as you say he is, I think downgrading him was the only way they could put him in the show. So otherwise, he'd be like a god. And I'm fine with that decision. Because you're personally, in reading comics and watching shows like this, I like powers to have limits. I think if a character gets too powerful, they're kind of boring. Because it's then like, well, how could they ever be beaten? I like characters to have failings and if they become that powerful, they're boring to me. Let's see. That gaming asshole. I figure that Thea wasn't hypnotized and was just helping her dad. Oh wait, no, did that one already. Yeah. They may be trying to make her into Artemis. And Costaletius adds, I'm hearing Speedy from the comics. Well, wasn't Roy Harper Speedy in the comics before he was Red Arrow and or Arsenal? That Oliver did used to call Thea Speedy, which could be a tease about that. If she's going to become anyone, my guess would be Artemis. It's just a guess, though. Let's see. Those. Okay. Let's see. Still going. Elsa Morty. I also love Oliver and Felicity. I feel like the writers are trying to redeem themselves with this storyline, people thinking Oliver is dead and he comes back to the woman he loves. It didn't work with Laurel, but then nothing works with her. That's true. Sorry for my poor English. I'm French. Oh, your English is very good. Give yourself more credit. And by the way, do you have any theories on Felicity's father? I don't really have any theories on Felicity's dad. I think he's probably someone from the comics. After that Felicity flashback episode, we know he's someone really smart because her mom said, "Oh, you there's so much of your dad in you. There's nothing of me in you," and I'm guessing he has to be someone from the comics because they built this up as a major reveal now. As for who it could be, I don't know. Really don't. Because, they basically changed so much about this, the Felicity character from as she was originally in the comics. It's basically like a whole new creation at this point. So, who knows what else they could change? Costaletius episode 14 is called The Return. Just saying. Yeah, so that would be Arrow. So, 10, 11, 12. So if we got 3 episodes focusing on Laurel while Oliver is out of commission, and then he comes back in The Return, yeah, that would make sense, I guess. Costaletius, I think they're going to do the Laurel Black Canary story arc before that. Also, Thea, happy to comply, queen. Winky face. Yeah, that was kind of a weird coincidence, wasn't it? I wonder if the Laurel Black Canary story would focus on her so heavily that Oliver would actually take off and not appear for 3 episodes. Would they go that far with it? Who knows? They might have him in there a little bit, but yeah, I think the focus may shift primarily to Laurel for those episodes. Ugh. Not looking forward to that, if I'm being honest. Okay. Let's see. Monte Data, do you think Oliver Queen will have any side effects and change if he's resurrected through the Lazarus Pit? I think he will finally have the famous Green Arrow goatee and make his return with the phrase, call me Green Arrow. What, you think the Lazarus Pit would give him the Green Arrow goatee? I kind of hope not. With the big mustache, no, I think they got rid of that in the New 52, and I kind of hope it stays gone. He kind of got the goatee already, a little bit. Not like the most clean version. He kind of looks like he just doesn't shave, and he lets like this part grow in a little bit. But I kind of like the way he looks now. If he's going to take on the Green Arrow name, I think that would probably be at the end of the series. Let's see. Adam Avivi. Do you think they could turn Ward into an Inhuman too? Yeah, possibly. I think you're kind of straining credibility, though, if you start turning other main characters into Inhumans. I think Skye being the only one is part of what makes her really unique on this show. And to make any of the other characters Inhumans, I think, would kind of be a betrayal of that. Because this was supposed to be the whole thing that made Skye unique and why everyone was so focused on her in season 1. And then to have it turn out to be that all these other characters are Inhumans too. It's like, well, why are we focusing on Skye so much in the first place? You know, I wouldn't rule it out. I don't think it's probable. I think Skye's the only one in the main cast who's an Inhuman. I kind of prefer it that way, honestly. The Save Me One. What do you think of the Sony hack about Marvel wanting Spider-Man to appear in Captain America Civil War? Do you think it'll happen? Have you heard about Sci-Fi developing a Superman prequel series called Krypton? Sony hack now about wanting Spider-Man to be in Civil War? No, I haven't heard about that. I guess they're going to have to change a lot of stuff about the Civil War movie. Because they can't use Spider-Man because Sony is not going to give up the rights to that character. Unless some kind of deal would be made. I mean, Disney could probably buy back the rights. I don't know if they want to pony up the cash to do that. Yeah, I guess they could give Spider-Man's role in the Civil War movie to someone else. Who knows who it could be? I heard Black Panther is supposed to make an appearance in the movie, so maybe him, maybe? Who knows? Have you heard about Sci-Fi developing a Superman prequel series, Krypton? Yeah, I heard about that. Seems like kind of a lame idea. I think they've seen that sounds like somebody saw how successful Gotham has been for Fox. They say, well, you know, comic book prequel series, we go two can play at that game. Excuse me. And they decided to do the same with Superman. It just supposedly it's going to focus on Kal-El's grandfather, so it's not even going to be about Jor-El, but Jor-El's father. I don't know. It's just now it feels like we're retreading an awful lot and just going back to the well with old stuff instead of developing new ideas. I would prefer like some kind of original series to this, honestly. It might be a good show. I'm just not as interested in it as I would like to be. Krishan 7, thoughts on Buck Angel? Elaborate. I don't know who that is. I'm sorry. Let's see. Terp 28. Gotta wait till March for S.H.I.E.L.D. to come back. Fuck. Yeah, that was pretty much my reaction. Still, having those two big blocks of uninterrupted episodes with a 3-month gap in between beats the hell out of what we had in season 1, where they'd air one episode and then it would be preempted for 2 weeks, and then air another episode, and then it'd be off for a month, and then another new episode, and then the Olympics. Just constant, never-ending preemptions. This is much better. Yeah, this is much more tolerable. We get half the season, and then a break, and then the second half of the season uninterrupted. The 3-month wait is going to suck, but I'll take that over what we had in season 1. Krishan 7, your hair looks like it's receding. Why haven't you grown your hair like Edge yet? You mean like when Edge had long hair? I am letting it grow out a little while, for a little while. I don't plan on cutting it in the near future. I mean, cutting it like Edge's short hair now. I don't know. Just haven't felt like it was time yet. Krishan 7, will they create a new S.H.I.E.L.D. without Seth, Roman, and Dean? I think that would be pretty dumb. Like a whole new roster? No, that'd be stupid. It's just reusing the same idea. I wouldn't put it past Vince, but no, do something different. Do something new. Don't just recycle the same idea with different people. That's dumb. I suddenly feel like Vince would probably want to do it then. She seems so out of touch and devoid of new ideas. Okay. I think that may be everything. Every time I refresh the page, the comments are out of order again. Good grief. All right. You know what? I think that's everything. So that, I think, is a good place to end it. You know, just over 2 hours here. No technical problems yet. So let's not push our luck. I think everything is going to be in mid-season hiatus now. We got wrestling coming back in January. So I think that's it for the next little while. S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back in March. In the meantime, we got Agent Carter starting in January. I believe Arrow and Flash come back in January also. So I guess we'll start this up again at that time. In the meantime, I'm going to be off for a little bit, I guess, until we have wrestling again. And I could come up with some other topical videos, possibly. I keep meaning to get back to the S.H.I.E.L.D. reviews, although that keeps getting delayed because those take a little while to put out. But yeah, I will be back shortly, hopefully sooner than later. In the meantime, thanks to everybody for tuning in. I will talk to you later. Good night.